We are here. Hello, 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 everybody. We are House of Lave. I am Ladero Hart.
And I am Danielle Hart.
And we're excited to be here. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Light of Infinite Festival. Erez, thank you. Man, listen, you're doing a phenomenal work. And this event is something that's life-changing for sure. And so we're grateful for you. Thank you for allowing us to be able to chit chat for a couple minutes. We're not going to take up a whole lot of time. And also you got a book, I believe, that just came out as well. So for those who are watching, please make sure that you guys go support the book. He's doing something beautiful, right? Bringing all these incredible people together.
Yeah. What an honor to be able to be on this. And we just feel truly honored. Thank you for even asking us.
Yeah.
And we're really excited.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So again, we are House of Lave, and we've been on a journey for the past couple of years now. And we decided that we were going to convert to Orthodox Judaism. We have a background of not that. Is that so we both come from Christianity. Well, I come from a Christian background.
Yeah, let's get that correct.
And then so I come from a Christian background, and then when we got married, my wife became a Christian as well. Yeah. And we now have 5 incredible, beautiful kids, and then one more on the way. Yes, Bisha, Tovah, with God's help. And so we were on a spiritual journey, and we felt that we wanted something deeper. We wanted to connect and really, really know who this creator of the universe was for ourselves. And without going into all of the details, we decided we felt very, very drawn to the Jewish people and Judaism and the Torah. And we started researching, and we fell in love with the Jewish people. And we couldn't get enough. We couldn't get enough. And so we started. This was a good 4 or 5 years ago, but officially it's been 2 years now since we've started our conversion process. Mm-hmm. And it's been awesome.
Yeah, it's been an incredible journey. And some people, we hear stories of people's journeys when it comes to conversion and what they have to go through and all of that. But Ladero and I, we always talk about how much we appreciate the process.
Yep.
Because it's allowing us to really learn so much. There is so much to learn, and I feel like it's not something that should be ever rushed, right? For sure. Especially we're still learning so much about Shabbos, and there's just so much within that we're learning. Every Shabbat dinner, we're learning so much, and we feel like, us personally, that this is our second chance at life, right? So we want to make sure that we're doing everything right, not rush it, and we just know in due time we will get through this process.
That's right. Yeah. And so we were kind of sitting here, once Erez reached out to us, and we said, what are we gonna talk about? And so we said, well, my wife actually came up with the idea, and she said, well, let's talk about, how has Judaism changed our lives? How has it impacted our lives while going through this journey? Mm-hmm. And so there's so many different things that we can talk about, tons of things. And so we came up with 5 different areas. So 5 specific areas that has, been impacted by this journey. So we're going to talk about marriage. Mm-hmm. We're going to talk about family, parenting, our connection with God. Mm-hmm. And we're going to talk about how Judaism has impacted our relationship with people. Yeah. And so let's talk about, so we thought it'd be good to talk about marriage. I feel like that's kind of our strong suit. We love marriage. We've been married for a long time, for 16 years now. And you thought I forgot?
At first I was like, whoa, he looks like he forgot.
No, I didn't forget. 16 years.
It is a long time.
It's a long time.
Yeah, I'm very proud of it.
Yeah, we're very proud. We work very, very hard on our marriage, but we love talking about love and family and marriage. And so, I'll let my wife go ahead and kick that off.
Yeah. So, when coming into this walk of life, understanding Judaism and what marriage means to a Jewish household. It's just so beautiful. You hear about Shalom Bayit. What is Shalom Bayit? Peace in the home.
Yep.
And that's something that I think that even before, this process and learning about Judaism, that was just something I've always wanted. So when I saw that, I'm like, look at the values. Like it's just so much peace even within that, of knowing like Shalom Bayit is something that is major when it comes to Judaism.
Yeah.
And, we had to understand that, we do have differences, me and my husband, which is a beautiful thing. And I think that within Judaism, you start to understand that you are, two halves basically that make up one. And that's something that, I think we didn't understand until we started learning more just about the soul, right? Learning more about, meeting your soulmate before you even met your soulmate. And so, we realize that, it takes patience, when it comes to marriage, especially the things that we went through in our marriage. We had a lot of learning, a lot of growing. I think any marriage does, especially when it comes to communication.
Yeah.
And understanding that it's not this fairy tale life that,
Nope.
sometimes people think it's going to be, but it's beautiful when you go on this journey and you're willing to, compromise, you're willing to come together and to really make those changes. But it does take work, and we realize it takes work. But when you work at it, it is the most beautiful thing. And I think, learning about that in Judaism, it's helped us even more. My husband, he's going to elaborate a lot more on it, especially from a man's perspective. And I think seeing how he has grown within just us walking into Judaism has been a major change in the way that he serves me, and how it's like all about me. And I love that. And that's something that he's learning. So I'm going to pass it over to you.
It wasn't always like that.
Wasn't.
There was at the very beginning of our relationship, for a long period of time, I wanted it to be about me, right? And so because of that, our marriage struggled a whole lot. And so once we started learning Judaism and learning the Torah's concept and the idea of marriage, it changed everything. There's a beautiful book by Rabbi Shalom Arush, and he has a book for men
and women.
And women too. But this book right here is called the Garden of Peace for men. And I've learned so much in this book about marriage. And so thinking about this concept, right? The more time that I spend with my wife, the more I learn about myself, right? And that concept is it's so simple, but it just had the biggest impact, right? Because you start to realize how much you need to change, right? I instead of pointing the finger, which is very, very easy to do, it's easy to just point the finger and say, you need to change this, you need to do this, right? Judaism has really taught me to really step back and allow our situations to be like a correction tool for me. Like he talks about this idea that your wife is a mirror, the mirror of the husband. So any deficiency that I see in her is actually my own deficiency, right? And so that's just such a crazy thing, but that perspective changed everything. So everything I see in my wife is a message for me, right? Oh, I don't like when you do this. I don't like when you do that. I don't like when you do this, right? Those different areas that I'm pointing out as deficiencies in her, she's just reflecting back on the areas that I need to fix and areas that I need to work on, right? And so it's really, Judaism has really, really helped us elevate our marriage. And I'm glad you said that, how you feel it's about you, because it is. I really, really try my best to make her feel like, I'm all in. I care about you. I want to really help, make our relationship grow. And, I want you to feel loved and honored and all that good stuff,
Yeah. And growing even just intentionally, like intentional time together is something that, Judaism has helped us with. It really has, because you just start to understand the importance of marriage and of, your spouse being happy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, especially it talks about the woman, you know, the woman should always, you know, be happy.
Yeah.
And because if she's not, your house is a mess.
It's a tornado.
And it's like, you have to have that peace, right? Especially preparing for Shabbat. Like, it has to be such a peaceful time going into Shabbat. So he always makes sure that, you know, everything is good and smooth and there's no problem. So I respect that so much.
Yeah. You know, I've learned that it's, in order to have a successful marriage, I have to be connected to our Creator. I have to be connected to Hashem. And so what happens? By me connecting myself to Hashem, I allow myself to receive from Hashem. And then guess what? My wife can receive from me.
Yeah.
Right. And so understanding that. And so what happens if I'm not connected? Then I can't, you know, give something I don't have. You know, I can't. Mm-hmm. Right. Giving is another concept, right. I need to be in a place of giving to my wife all the time, giving, and not expecting to receive. And one thing that I try my best to really, you know, think about every single day is like, what can I do to give today? I want to be a giver today. Right. And that's how we're designed, you know? So marriage. So our marriage, I mean, we can talk about
for hours,
marriage for hours, but for the sake of time, we don't have a lot of time. So let's jump into the next one, which is family. Mm-hmm. And you want to
sure, I'll start with that. So for us, family is everything. It always has been. That's one thing I would say that has not changed. But what has is more intentional.
Yeah.
Right. You know, we are more intentional with our time. Yeah. We sit at the dining room table together and eat together. And there, you know, it's automatic now for our family, because there was a time that was not the case. Like, we used to just be like, oh, that person's going over there. I'm going to my room, or we're just like on a couch and we're eating and we're watching TV, and it's like, it's not intentional. So now it's so intentional. It's so beautiful. Even to see my little ones, my 4-year-old, my 2-year-old, that they automatically know I'm going to my little table. They have their own little table next to our big table. And it's so cute to see them, you know, just walk over there and know, like, this is family dinner time. It's now an automatic thing that's embedded in them, that they know that this is intentional time, and it's going to be time for us to learn as well too. And I know you probably want to speak on that.
You know, when we're at the table, it gives us a chance to talk about life, right? We talk about Torah lessons, and we can share lessons from the Torah, things that we're learning in the Parsha, life events. We get to talk about school. We get to talk about fun things, right? And my wife always wants laughter and happiness in our home, and right. So at the table, I don't want. It's not always laughter, right? Because sometimes they're very, very serious moments, you know, and so, but we really work hard to make sure that we create a space for that. We create a space at our table, or just within our home with our children, with each other, so that people can feel safe to be able to share whatever, you know. We talk about family tree, right? Like this new Jewish journey that we're on, like, we get to have, we have kids, but then our kids start to build their families, and like we started a whole new family tree. And it's so cool, the idea of our great grandkids can be able to look back and say, wow, we have this beautiful Jewish life because of us, right? And it's nothing that we take lightly, and it's just a huge honor.
Yeah. And that is an honor, because you hear stories of other converts who talk about, like, hey, 30 years ago, it started with our family. And it's like, that's beautiful. 30 years ago, like, I can only imagine what that's going to look like, you know, for us, and us now having baby number 6. Like, we have the opportunity to have such a huge growing family. And every time I see, you know, big families, especially in the Jewish community, it's something that's beautiful. And I think sometimes people don't understand it, especially in the times that we're in, and the economy. You know, people look at economy instead of looking at understanding who their creator is.
Right.
But you understand that in Judaism, and you understand that every child is such a blessing.
Yeah.
There's more parnassa. What is parnassa? Livelihood, right? That comes with that. So there's no need to worry. It's a blessing from Hashem. So for us, we love the whole family dynamic, and growing families. I think it's the most beautiful thing to see.
Yeah. Next, we're going to talk about parenting, Judaism, and that kind of ties in with family as well. You know, Judaism is totally changed how we parent our children. And, you know, we actually had we had a good talk, a good interview with Rabbi Tovah Singer, an amazing individual. And he said something that like really hit us. He said, Jewish life doesn't start in the home. I'm sorry. He said, Jewish life starts in the home, not in shul. Right. And I'm like, man, that's really, really powerful, because it's so true. That's where we spend the most time. We spend the most time in homes. So it's totally revolutionized our parenting, you know, helping our kids build and find their own relationship with God, rather than them doing something just because mom and dad is doing something.
Well, you know, him saying that it starts in the home is just, it's the example of the parents, right? It's us showing our kids more so than just telling them, right? So that's the aspect that we love about the parenting part. And that's what we really make sure we focus on with our kids, that we're the example. I mean, you know, there's things that I'm going to even mention just later on about even with our kids that has to do with my example of modesty. But, you know, Jewish life does definitely start in the home for sure.
Yeah. You know, what kind of people do we want our children to be? So we get a chance to pull these basic values of Judaism out of the Torah, right? To love and revere God, to love your neighbor, treat all people equally with love, regard life as sacred, strive to be holy, study in Torah, cherish the land of Israel, right? We talk about Israel in our home with our kids, you know, and with God's help, you know, hopefully we, you know, one day we could live there, right? But we create that to be, you know, compassionate to each other, to your siblings, be compassionate, you know, with your friends. And
be compassionate among your brothers and sisters of fellow Jews. We always talk about that you treat every Jew is equally treated.
That's
and
right.
That's something big that's in our family.
Yeah. And it just makes me feel so good too, that my daughters have such a beautiful, awesome role model to be able to look up to. And that makes me, as a dad, it makes me feel so good, so comfortable, so confident for my kids' future, you know, and just to know, like, I can't imagine it in any other way, you know?
Yeah. You know, and that's what's, you know, so beautiful about it as well too, is just the fact that, you know, we get to see our kids, you know, grow up in a Jewish school, and to, you know, things are just so different. Like I think about when my kids were in public school for a little bit, and then we switched them out and homeschooled them. And I'm very grateful for that decision, because I think things could have been a little bit different, but obviously different. Everything has mapped out how it's supposed to be, but we're just so grateful for that. But I look at my kids now, you know, having a Jewish education and what that does, you know, for them. My kids, their focus in the morning is prayer. That's not the case for a public school, right? That they're not going to go say, hey, we're going to go pray first. Like, no, it's prayer first,
right?
You know, for our children. And I think that is the most beautiful thing, that it's, you know, focused on the Judaic studies as well. And like I was saying about my daughter, you know, seeing her at a school and the girls are separated, right? In high school, there's no, you know, she's not with boys. There's not boys around. They're separated. And to see her come to school dressing modest in a uniform.
Beautiful.
That's another piece of mind. That's a beautiful, to me, it's just it should be the way of life, to be honest. But to see even in her school, there's guest speakers who come, there's women who come and talk about the importance of modesty.
Yeah.
That needs to be talked about everywhere. And so that's things like that we're just extremely, extremely grateful for.
Man, I know. I wish, I'm looking at the time, like, man, that was the fastest 19, 20 minutes ever. I feel like we just got on.
Yeah, I know.
But let's keep it going. So we want to talk about how Judaism has impacted our connection with God. And that's been everything.
Yeah.
You know, one thing my wife always talks about, I'll throw it back to you, is it is a structure.
Yeah.
Right. Before coming into Judaism, we didn't have a structure. It was just kind of like a free for all. And that's not me, kind of saying it's a one size fits all kind of thing in Christianity at all. Right. But that was just our journey. Right. It was no structure for us. And that's what we were really, really searching for.
Yeah, that's beautiful to be able to have the structure like that and to know, okay, there's certain times when you pray, right? This is how you pray.
Yeah.
Like that's, to me, it made so much sense. It attracted, I think I was so attracted to the fact that there is these, you know, and for women, we're not time bound for a lot of our prayers, but to see my husband, right, to be that, I think that is the most rewarding thing for a wife, to be able to see that her husband is obligated to go pray, you know, 3 times a day. But, you know, one thing when it comes to the connection with our Creator, you know, I never fully understood in Judaism, like the whole concept of creation. And I think like once you know that concept of creation, then you know your Creator, right? And so I feel like I was able to really connect more by having that understanding, and it helped a whole lot. And so I think it just, for me personally, that's how I was able to have more of an understanding of, okay, why do I connect and how do I connect with Hashem?
Right.
And even, you know, I think about even like just Shabbat, like how important that time is. And even for a woman to connect, you know, when we're bringing in Shabbat, bringing in that day and, you know, being able to do the prayer, covering our eyes, lighting the candles. It's such a beautiful moment and a time to connect.
Yeah. Connection is everything. Connection. Judaism really gave me a path to be able to learn how to connect to the creative universe, right? So I love Rabbi Nachman, and, you know, he talks about this concept of heat bodedut, right? Basically personal prayer, secluded prayer. And, you know, he talks about the importance of taking an hour every single day to pour out your heart to God. Right. And so this is something that I've adopted over the past couple of months, and it's been life changing. Right. I heard Nissim Black say this. He says prayer is the most Jewish thing you could do.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's the most Jewish thing that you can do. Like you think about all of the avos, right? All the fathers. Isaac went out to the fields to pray, to meditate in the fields, right? The Psalms that David Hamelech wrote, right? Those were personal prayers to Hashem, right? I mean, they back in those times, they didn't have a prayer book. They didn't have a siddur. What do they have, right? They used their mouths and they connected. They cried out to God, and this has, again, just been so life-changing for me to carve out that time. Like, it's the highlight of my day. I cannot wait to have that hour with Hashem, and it's so beautiful. And I talk about everything. I talk about my family. I talk about the hard times, the rough times, all the struggles, this, and it's beautiful. It's so beautiful, right? It's if me and my wife stop talking and stop communicating, we can't connect. We become unacquainted. And it's the same thing with the creative universe. If we don't communicate, it's no way to be able to have a relationship. So Judaism has changed this totally for me.
And just to end kind of on this section of it, this topic is, you know, understanding that everything is good that happens in your life. That has really helped us with our connection with God, is that everything comes from Him. So there is no bad. There's always something that He's doing, and it's for our good. And we've changed our mindset with that, and that's helped us look at life in a whole new light. So definitely wanted to make sure we talked about that.
Everything is for the good. Gamzu
Latova.
Gamzu Latova. Right. And so the last thing that we want to talk about is our relationship with people. So Judaism has totally changed our relationship with people.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think we've kind of adopted this as our family motto. It's just loving your neighbor as yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Like we have that in Hebrew, you know, on our car, like throughout our house, and, you know, like, you know, loving your neighbor as yourself. And this has been so huge for us because I think about the reason why the second temple was destroyed, right? It was destroyed because of baseless hatred. It was like baseless hatred, like hating for no reason, that kind of thing, right? I mean, right now we're in the counting of the Omer, also during the time of the 24,000 students, Rabbi Akiva's 24,000 students died. Why? Because they couldn't get along. They couldn't get along. And so I want to make sure, like, one thing that I really think about in my mind is making sure that I learn from the past so that I don't have to repeat history. I learn my lessons. I want to make sure that I'm not repeating things. What can I learn from the people that have gone before me?
Yeah.
Right? If you're hurting, if I hurt you, I hurt me. If I hurt you, then guess what? The whole entire Jewish nation is hurting. It's not just like let me just pick on you, or no, the whole family hurts. And this is something that we've come to understand. I mean, we really started to really understand this at the beginning of our walk in Judaism. It's just really making sure that we're loving people, we're treating people how we want to be treated, and it's one of the best things that we can teach our kids.
Yeah. So like we said, we understand that everything that comes from Hashem is good. Now that's the same thing we kind of view when it comes to people. We find the good in people.
Absolutely.
Right. It's so easy to pinpoint the negative or what somebody's not doing and what they could be doing better, or why aren't they doing this? It's like, let's find the good, because if you find the good in somebody, that right there alone could bring them closer to Hashem.
100%.
And I think about just what I would want. I would want somebody to have that love and that patience, and to treat me with respect, and to treat me with the utmost, love, and not feel accused. Right. So that the way that I think about that is how I want to, treat others.
Yeah. Rabbi Nachman talks about how it's very important to wake up in the morning and to start finding the good points in yourself. Why is this important? It's important because how we view ourselves determine how we view other people. If we can start finding the good points in ourselves, then that means that we're able to start finding the good points in other people. And when we can find the good points in other people, it helps to change their lives as well.
That's right. Absolutely.
Right. And then we stop focusing on the sin. We stop focusing on the things that they did wrong. Right. What are you doing right? What are you doing right? And there's so much beauty in each and every one of you, so much beauty in every single person. And that's what we need to do as a unit, as a family, as a nation, is to get along. Let's get on the same page. Let's love each other. Let's throw away all of the judgment. Let's throw away all of the fighting, the disputes. We need to learn how to live in harmony amongst each other. Yeah, there's different minhags, right? Minhagim and traditions, and right. There's all these differences, right? But we need to learn, and I pray with God's help, right? And I pray this almost every day during my Heat to do. With God's help, we can learn how to find the beauty in all of our differences. Let the differences somehow bring us closer together.
Yeah,
that's what we need. And again, that's going to be our prayer continuously until the coming of Mashiach. May he come soon in our days. And so I feel like we hit almost everything.
We hit, right? We hit as much as we could in 30 minutes. I mean, we broke it down as much as we could, but we definitely enjoyed to be able to share our hearts. And we thank you guys so much for allowing us to be on here. Thank you. And you can find us on lots of different platforms. You can find us on Instagram, YouTube.
Yep.
We have a lot of content on YouTube right now. And it's House of Love.
House Love, everything across the board.
Yeah. So thank you again. And I don't know if you want to.
That's it. Again, thank you, Erez, for everything that you're doing. And may the Creator to bless everything that you put your hands to. May you have nothing but much blessings, much brachas and hatzlacha in your life. So thank you guys so much.
Yes.
And we'll see you soon.
Yes. Bye, guys.